What's up, guys? This is the Board Game Roamer, and we're here with an unboxing of Machina Arcana. This is a new release. This game kind of caught me by surprise. This is the second edition, and the edition that I have is the Kickstarter, the deluxe edition. So it does have the not necessarily upgraded components so much as additional scenarios and chapters to play from the base game, in addition to the base game core components. But this game kind of caught me by surprise. Apparently, like I said, this is the second edition. So there was a first edition that Kickstarted and funded a while back, and so this is the second edition. Mostly, this is updated rules, streamlined rules, clarifications. They changed the way a few things worked, upgraded components, etc. And so first thing I do want to note is this that I actually have here on the table that I'm unboxing. This is a play mat. We'll look at some other play mats here, the neoprene mat, but this is the game mat where you can put your tiles out on and whatnot. So that is something that was an optional buy. Let's take a look at the box. Let's look at the back first. It is 1 to 4 players. Excuse me. It is a horror themed game. 14 plus. It says 30 to 240 minutes. I guess probably depends on the chapter and how many explorers you have. Explorers are the heroes that you're going to play. So, let's, I guess that's it for intro for that. Let's open this bad boy up. All I've done is take the shrink off. So, we'll close, move this out of the way. Put that over here, maybe. Alright, so what have we got? If you have this, in addition to the UPC on the back of the box, we'll tell you, but if you have this insert, I believe that this is this is what will also tell you. See, this lists the extra chapters and components you get as a result of having the deluxe, air quotes, version. All right, you have that. You have your game manual, second edition here. Okay, we have one punch board that's got some different tiles, heart markers, and different tokens for the scenarios, and the punch boards are they feel kind of flimsy, but they're really not. They're decent thickness, and the punches are real good because these have already fallen out. So, and obviously I haven't done a lot with it. Here's the main boards and such, scenario books. Shrink wrapped, interesting. We'll look at that in a second. Here's the components that popped out. That must have happened while they were packing it. So we've got those. Player boards. So these player boards are, you can tell they're double-sided. I mean, I guess technically they're double-sided, right? Are dual-layered. You play up to 4 explorers, and you do have dual layer boards there. You got your pretty nice, really thick. It's actually really thick between the two pieces cardboard there. All right, so what do we got? We have a whole stack of stuff here. Let's see what's in this. Oh. All right, so this has a lot of stuff. Let's look. All right, so here you're gonna have things like chapter cards, and on the back's the art. So this is this would be the art for the story for the chapter, and then here's the story about the chapter, and then this is different events that happen and different other abilities. And when I say abilities, I guess I'm saying actions that you can have during each chapter. Yeah. A lot of that. Let's see what else we got here. More chapter stuff. And there are fairly good, there's a few scenarios, but there are quite a number of chapters. Yeah, I remember this one. It's just called The Beast. Oops. The Beast. And they all have these symbols, so that's how you know, for example, this path to the vault is part of the beast because this symbol up here is very hard to see, but that symbol up there in the top matches the symbol on the back of this card, so I have to sort all those by scenario because it looks like they're all just kind of mixed in here. So there's more chapter stuff. Like I said, a number of scenarios here. All right, so that's that. Put this back. Next thing here. Wow, that other one came off so easy. And this one is not going to do it for me. Oh, there it goes. Release. Release. There we go. So this is your monsters. So you got all these different monsters here that are monsters you potentially fight. There's different levels. Here's your explorers, right? So your monsters have these stats that are going to be how much health they have and what values they have to beat in order to win them, and how much what they call stamina is essentially kind of like action points that you spend. And then you have your hero. Here's, for example, here's a hero. So this hero has, by default, 2 health, 2, I guess, intelligence, 5. So this is their hero card. It tells the attacks that you have. They all have different classes. There's another hero, gunman, right? All kinds of cool stuff like that. And then you also have, that doesn't tell you. I forget where it tells you. Oh, I think that's it on the corner, right? Yeah, levels right there on the corner. You can see that. So, hero cards, air card, and not like amazing quality. I mean, they're not bend them back and they flip back quality, but not bad quality, I guess. And then you have some pretty thick decks. So there's 4 decks here, right? There's, I think it's like, these are like artifacts, maybe weapons. There's apparel, and then there's something else. So there's basically four decks. And this is going to be things like, it's interesting that they don't have 4. You should put 2 decks together in there, maybe. It's going to be things like weapons. It's going to be like one-time use items like potions, consumable, sort of think consumable. All right, so let's look at a few of these, for example. So, for example, here we have, here's a gun, secretizer, whatever that is, hurl bat, right? Revolvers, arcane coating. But you can see these are all going to be mostly the same thing, aren't they? Oh, that's just one real thick. So yeah, this is all weapons. So it's pretty thick deck of weapons. So you got weapons. You got I'm getting it off, I swear. You got it says that's funny, iridescent diffuser, psychological fulminator. So these are like enhancements or one-time things, because that kind of like pie looking X there on the end, that means discard after use. So those are kind of like one-time use or trinkets, I guess, or something like that, if you want to call it. And really the rest of these are just kind of different decks with that same theme, if you will. Put that right there. Ooh, okay. Yep. So I'm just trying to get that out. Look at what it did to that card already. It slit to the side and bent it. So they're not super quality. They're not the worst I've ever seen, but they're not the best I've ever seen. So here's some examples of apparel, boots, stilts. Gives you additional armor, and there's kind of like two things. There's arcane and then there's physical, and depending on the armor you have, some of it will protect you more towards arcane, some of it will protect you more towards physical. Oh yeah, this is kind of like a mix match right here. It's a mix match. I'm assuming that this is like, since this is kind of separate, that these are maybe mostly Kickstarter stuff. And I'm not going to keep my stuff separate. I don't think there's any necessarily reason to do that, but I'm definitely not going to do that. We won't look at these because, I've already looked at those basically, so we won't worry about those right now. And there. We just want to look at the content, right? As you will see, I do have some sleeves. So you got a bag to draw, little draw bag for a couple different things. It does come with clear standees and looks like, yeah, black standees. I suppose you can, I don't know if one's bosses or not, but you have two different types of standees. Anyway. And then here are your markers for your explorers. So I'll just show you that right quick so you can see that. If I can get them out, good. It should not be this hard to get them out. So if I go over here, pull out somebody's oh, that's not what I need to do. Nope, wrong place. Let's pull out. Yeah, let's go with you, that's fine. So if I take this Explorer card here, so Explorer card is going to sit in here. I do like the fact that they have like this that I can slide out and get a hold of it. That is nice. But then these will sit based on his stats. So for example, he's got 5 health and 6 stamina, and then you start the game with probably no essence, and you can get up to 5. But so, and I'm holding this at an angle, and they're staying in there. Well, mostly. Oh gosh, abort. That was close. So there you go. That's how those work. Oh, what else have we got in here? We do have dice. One set of dice, which is some custom D6s, basically. Some, as well, right? So you got some custom D6s that instead of having pips, they have pips, but they have them like that. Kind of like the Betrayal at House on the Hill dice, where you have special sides that just have a couple. Then you have your black dice, which have more sides that are populated, and they're like more pips on them. You have a D10, which is all this is. It's just a really intricate D10. It's actually a really pretty D10 with all that engraving stuff. And then you have another special die called the Charge die for different places where you can roll it to charge up and get health or stamina, or roll it and potentially get some of that stuff. All right, and over here we've got different decks for things like horror, cards that potentially come out during the chapter, special scenario event cards, and things like that are over here. All right, so we've got, so here's like see the back's got that symbol as opposed to that symbol. Don't ask me what exactly that means yet. And then there's, that's the same one. But things like here, like increase monster attack rolls by 1. When any monster dies, monsters move up to 2 spaces. So this is all like negative. All these are pretty much forms of negative things for your characters, right? And again, I've watched a little bit about it, but I haven't played it yet, so I can't give you specifics. Hopefully we'll be playing this, on the channel. At least that's, the plan. So, I'll tell you, I'm probably going to end up ditching this insert, though, because I do have everything sleeved. Well, I'll talk about that in a minute. I think this is more of the same. Just a lot of cards of those different types. Good grief. So, won't worry about that. Alright, so that takes care of all those sorts of things. So let's put this over here. Put these back over here. Those in there. These in here. Those need a bigger bag so they can breathe. And breathe may not be the right word. So they can sit below the thing. Whoop. Which is probably not going to matter once you get the insert. Get an insert. Oh, jeez. Look at that. I mean, I just picked that up and that fell out. Like I said, it's good. When you're trying to handle it initially, that doesn't help a lot. Alright. Let's put this out over here. Set this to the side. And then really where a lot of this is basically mostly the tiles and the scenario book. Kind of another reference book, I think. But this is going to be all the tiles. Oh, this down here, by the way, is for the monsters. So when you're fighting, you kind of defeat monsters, but depending on the level that you are, and how the chapters and stuff go, they can be removed from the game permanently. And usually, as you progress, the lower level monsters get removed permanently, and then the higher level ones stay. So your monster deck is, kind of continues to scale with you. Essentially, is what they're trying to do there. All right, so let's see what we have here. All right, we got. So the scenario board, and this is again double-sided, right? So this is where you put the scenario sheet, and you reveal them. You're tracking monster spawn rates. You're tracking horror cards. You're tracking monster levels. There's another tracker here. I forget what that's for, but this is your kind of like your scenario board that's tells you where you're at, what's going on at the end of each phase. A couple of different phases where you're rolling for spawning monsters and horror events. That's how you do that. You know what it needs to be. Of course, here's just a couple, 3. Oh gosh, that's already popping out. Things of our boards here. There's our 4 heroes, explorers, and then we have the tiles, right? And there are quite a number of tiles, but you'll notice it's like these tiles, right? These actually have on the back in game. So certain scenarios have specific tiles that are in-game tiles. And as you set up the game, it's going to tell you if you need those specific ones. Otherwise, most of them are just these two-sided tiles. Now, I will say the one thing, not that's bad about this. I don't want to sound necessarily like this is a negative, but one of the things that is, we'll call it challenging with this, is that you really have to pay attention to see like the symbology. Like that's a spawn location. Sorry, that's spawn location, workbench, chest. Like they're not like, because the tiles are dark, and that's intentional, right? That's the theme of the game. Some of these spaces are hard to see, especially like something like this where the colors match kind of the general palette for the board. But once you get to playing, you'll recognize those, and once you play a couple times, it'll make more sense. So that's all those, and that's actually everything out of that, which is, wow, that's not near as much stuff as I thought that would be in that. I guess mostly it was just thick because of the game tiles. So the other thing that I did, purchased a couple other things that I need to get, is they offered, and I was just like, I don't know why I did this, but just because of me. I thought it would be handy to have some extra dice. They weren't too extremely expensive, so I bought 2 more actual sets of dice here. So I should have plenty of dice. And also, they offered a sleeve set for the game. Now, normally, I'll be honest, I'm not a big sleever. Don't normally sleeve stuff. Very few things I've ever sleeved. As a matter of fact, the only thing I guess I've ever sleeved was Seventh Continent. In its entirety anyway. But I thought I would do that with this, and honestly, based on the quality of the cards, probably not a bad idea. So they did offer this entire sleeve set for the game. I don't think everything's going to fit in this box when I sleeve it, just to be honest. So that I'm probably going to end up having to ditch this insert and just kind of arrange everything in it. Maybe somebody will make an insert eventually that'll accommodate sleeves, but for now that's probably going to end up being my choice there. Let's look at a couple more things, and then we will be done unboxing this baby. I can start punching and sorting. So the other thing that I did was I got some player mats. Okay, so these player mats are just optional for people to use. It basically, as you can see here, it's got the same stuff that you have on that little personal player board, and I hope it's the same size, because if it's the same size, that'll be... No, it's not. Dang. Well, you could put it right there like that if you wanted to, I guess. Because I do like the insert inlay. But it's just kind of like a personal mat to lay things out on if you wanted to use that instead of these. Obviously, the downside to that would be that those are not cut out. I kind of wish they would have done that. They would have punched out these circles so that it would have sat down in it, kind of like Chip Theory Games does. But I know that would be hard quality control, and so I got it was a pack, so of course I have 4 of those, and then I have basically a mat that's kind of like the sideboard. So this is where you would put your scenario tracker piece, and then you can put your different decks for your apparels and stuff like that, and then your discards of all that stuff over here, to just kind of have a place to put that specifically and obviously thematically. None of this that I showed you, the playboards, absolutely none of that is necessary for gameplay. That's strictly aesthetic. But I went ahead and grabbed it while I had a chance, because I'm a sucker for that stuff mostly, but you never know if it'll be offered again. So, yeah, anything else? I think that's about it. Like I said, we'll get this baby punched and sorted so I can play, but that is Machina Arcana. Don't know how many of these are going to be out in the wild. I think it was a very limited print run, kind of like the first one. So if you do get a chance to get it, there are several playthroughs out there right now. Obviously, at some point I will be doing one of my own. But if you look at the Kickstarter page, they have some reviews, some playthroughs, so you can kind of see how the game flows. It's thematically, think, the Arkham Horror, Elder Tour, like that. That's that kind of theme. Gameplay, like I'll say this based off what I've seen of the gameplay so far. It's not overcomplicated, I don't feel like, and it's not necessarily hard. So this is not like a super heavy game. There is some strategy, and I think there's enough strategy and enough replayability that it's fun to play. If you like really heavy strategy, I don't know that this would scratch that itch. If you like this theme, I think the Lovecraft theme, I think you'll love it. I think it's a good one. It's not too complicated, but it's also not super simple. I think it's a good middle ground. I mean, I would say, like, I've got Arkham Horror, at least the 3rd edition, and I kind of feel like that's rules wise based on, again, what I've seen and the rule book that I've read, the digital one. I kind of feel almost like Arkham Horror 3rd edition is more complicated, but I'd feel like the gameplay here is not lacking. I think it's still going to be fun to play this, even with that kind of simpler rule set. So, yeah, I think that's it. Thank you guys for hanging out with me, coming to the table. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for watching. And I will see you, my friends, ladies and gentlemen, in the next video. Bye, guys.